The movie begins with a script about the upcoming war, discussing a future catastrophe. She presents her pitch to a boardroom full of men, introducing a purple capsule that will purportedly solve all world crises by using a medicine to cure erectile dysfunction. It's an ad for Alpha Farm. The old men clear their throats, but surprisingly, the pitch ends up being successful. JC enjoys the celebration as one of the successful employees at Mojo, where she is also well respected. Things seem to go smoothly for JC and her career, essentially marrying her job. She gives a wonderful speech with champagne. At a dealership, the men are talking about a takeover of the company. The two men pressure the CEO to sign a piece of document to give over the company to a guy named JP Basson. JP promises a lifetime retirement to him and to Swanopol's children. During the party, JC is called by a supervisor and gets news about an Alpha Farm photo shoot. JC is sure everything is in place. Not only that, but the supervisor, Denise, orients JC about the amalgamated multimedia business that is planning to take over their business, a move orchestrated by JP Basson, also known as the Jackal. Denise reveals more, stating that the company is being retrenched, which shocks JC because she thought they were all safe. Denise tells JC about some clients that Jackal might absorb, emphasizing the need to land a major contract, perhaps in a wine farm market. JC is very confident she can close that deal. But Denise warns her that they can't afford to lose, as the fate of the company and its employees is at stake. JC walks away and starts a proposal, glancing into the party room filled with her employees. This sight motivates her to work harder. Meanwhile, JP, the Jackal, and Hergy are at a bar discussing shareholders and their expectations to grow profits. They flirt with girls, and Hergy shamelessly attempts to pick them up, although the girls are not interested, except in Jackal. JP tells them off, instructing Hergy to concentrate on their goals. However, Hergy is more interested in getting laid and appears desperate. JP seems to pity Hergy and offers him some tips or pick-up lines for the girls. With newfound confidence, Hergy approaches the girls and drinks their cosmos. Initially, it seems rude, but it proves effective as Hergy asks the girls if he can buy them drinks, and they become amused. Feel free to pause and take notes on that trick. Back at Alpha Farm, it's already morning, and JC has dozed off on her table, having slept there. Denise calls her, reminding her about the client meeting and emphasizing that JC needs to look like $1 million. Despite still wearing yesterday's clothes and having an unpleasant odor, JC has only 15 minutes to prepare. She uses a magazine to wipe her armpits. Fortunately, her BFF and assistant, Carla, come to her aid. Carla happily fetches extra clothes from JC's car. In the morning, JP and Hergy are in the office, preparing to snag a new client. JP reveals they are sharing a car to appear more studious, like a Maserati. The Maserati arrives at the Alpha building while JC is changing her clothes at the trunk of her car. She is in the middle of changing her blouse when JP and Hergy pass by. JC curses at them, and JP, rather happily, expresses interest in buying the company immediately because of a half-girl. In the company, all the staff are making contributions to help out JC, forming a chain to assist her with various tasks like fixing her clothes or hair. The client, Mojo, is in, and the pitch is in session. However, Denise takes JC aside because the wine company wants a representative who lives their values, specifically someone who is a family person, meaning married with a family. Since JC is single, she is not qualified to represent. Thinking quickly on her feet, BFF Carla comes up with a solution. She lies to Denise, telling her that JC has a boyfriend but is keeping it under the radar. Carla fabricates a story that JC is engaged soon but doesn't want to reveal it yet. Confused, JC goes along with the lie and invents a story about her impending marriage. However, it's difficult for her to provide details about the man, except that he has big hands. Denise insists on meeting the man, and the wine company's condition is that during the pitch, they have to bring their partners. The worst part is that Denise and Carla scramble to find a man they can present for the pitch. The next mission is to find a fiancé. Carla suggests some potential fake fiancés, like a cousin, neighbor, or failed date. She also suggests a model named Fernando, and JC thinks it's a wonderful idea. Meanwhile, JP's Maserati still hasn't found a parking spot, so he leaves Hergy to park it. Carla approaches Fernando for a favor to get a model from him to pretend as a fiancé. Fernando argues but eventually calls in a model guy, like a delivery, to be sent up. The company is preparing, and JC comes back, waiting for the model. Then JP arrives, a tall, dark, and handsome specimen who catches the attention of all the women and even momentarily captures the hearts of some men. Mistaking JP as the model sent by Fernando, JC assists him and briefs him about what is about to happen. Inadvertently, she reveals the condition that she needs to nail down this deal so that JP, also known as the Jackal, won't hammer down their company. JP tries to explain himself but is seemingly hopeless. JC then hears about why JP is doing this and proceeds to badmouth the media company. JP realizes that JC is working towards the same goal as him. JC pleads and then gives in to pretending to be his fiancé. She tells him to change his tie as it doesn't suit him. He calls Hurtji in and confidently tells him that the company mojo is theirs, as he plans to use JC to win the deal. He exchanges ties with Hurtji. JP reveals his plans to Hurtji, pretending to fall in love with JC, but Hurtji comments that JP does not know love. JC does the introductions, and Hurtji pretends to be JP's stylist since he is a model, but it doesn't seem convincing. JP also lies that Hurtji is gay and hits his bum. The girls lead the boys out. Outside, Carla gets an engagement ring, and they go to the meeting place where Carla instructs JP to just smile and nod. At the cafe, she sees Marcus, JC's competition, with his super hot new girlfriend. To make Marcus jealous, JC spontaneously kisses JP. A confused JP follows the lead and spanks JC's rear end. At a distance, Hurtji strikes a conversation with Carla since he seems offended by the wrong pronunciation of his name. They seem to get along well themselves as they reveal stories about themselves. They gather around the table and start the meeting. The client, Andres, is introduced. They have a rough start since JP seems to misbehave. Andres tests them if the couples fit his standards. Andres starts asking Marcus' girlfriend, Chadri, who reveals a lot about herself, spending most of her time bettering herself with salon visits, spa days, and shopping. The tension suggests that it's a bad thing, especially as Marcus tries to talk her out of revealing such information. Now it's JP's turn, and he overacts, making it seem like he can't control his urges on JC publicly, potentially sabotaging the deal. Denise asks JP about his job, and he lies that he is a doctor, impressing everyone. JC adds that JP is a proctologist who likes to test bums. Chadri is clueless about what it means, embodying a dumb blonde persona, so she asks. JC hypes up JP about his job of saving bums. Later, JC tries to pitch for the deal, but then JP inserts himself, saying that JC isn't into wines but more of a beer girl. JC defends herself and kicks him under the table for misbehaving. JC asks Marcus and Chadri about their dating life and realizes that it's obvious they are just pretending to get the deal. JC shows off the engagement ring to make a point to Mr. Buys that engagement is much better. Marcus takes his turn to present his pitch for the international wine market. JP interrupts to ask about Marcus Synergy and their recent business ventures, which have won some deals. JP inadvertently hypes up Marcus to Mr. Buys. JC realizes that JP is up to something, so she says she is on call and doesn't want him around because JP is making it worse for her. Mr. Andres Buys says that he has set up something special for the weekend and invites the couples to spend it at the farm on Sunday. The meeting adjourns, and JC is royally pissed at JP, hitting his arm. JP defends himself, saying he is delivering an Oscar-like pretentiousness. JC tells JP to tell Andres he is sick and cannot go, so JP can't go. Denise arrives and says to book JP on JC's account. JP fully continues his acting. JC gives him a chance but warns JP to behave well and obey. JP hits back and says that Hurtji will be there. Then JP kisses him. Outside, JC sees Marcus saying goodbye to his alleged girlfriend while JC hides behind a moving man. It epically fails, and Marcus spots her and engages her in a talk and talks about JP if he is real and their relationship authentic. JP unannounced arrives and spanks him again and becomes naughty around JC, which gives awkward creep vibes to Marcus. JC funnily calls him Octopus Man, because his hands are everywhere. JP thinks that something is up with her and Marcus. Carla does some work for the photo shoot at Alpha Farm. Everything is prepped, however, there's a teeny tiny problem about the male model who will advertise the erectile dysfunction pill. They check him in the changing room, and the problem is not little, it's a really big problem, as all blood flow seems to have concentrated on the central limb. Now, they are scurrying for their life to replace the model. Meanwhile, Hurtji and JP go golfing and talk about their plans with JC and the wine farm. JC thinks of a better idea and calls JP to replace the model. But JP misinterprets the situation and thinks he has been found out. JC still thinks JP is a model, so she books him to model the erectile dysfunction pill. JP, of course, isn't a model and is hesitant about it. But Hurtji encourages JP and slips into his gay stylist persona and asks about the pay. It's his little revenge for making him the gay stylist. So, JP dresses up and is paired with the model. He has to strip down, wearing only his red teeny pants. JP, as revenge, tells the gay photographer that Hurtji is gay. The photographer commands Hurtji to check on JP's body to make sure it's all fine and dandy. The awkward photo shoot begins. The photographer wants to emphasize the male model's anatomy as it is the star of the show. So, they create some ruckus, like Hurtji oiling JP, which, of course, makes JP uncomfortable as his face pleads with Hurtji not to do it. So Hurtji rubs oils on JP's body, and the two best friends are placed in a very awkward position. JP keeps patting him away, but JC seems to be having fun, making JP pissed. JC adds more flowers to make it even more awkward and embarrassing for JP. The photo shoot ends, and Herji lies about going shopping with JP. JC tells them to get nice clothes for JP. However, JP says if she wants a wardrobe change, JC should spend on her. On a side note, Herji might have slipped into the gay persona a little bit too far. JC, though, warns Carla not to let Denise see the photos yet. JC tells JP that they will meet up for a shopping spree. So the following day, JP goes to a very expensive boutique where employees are on commission. JC is paying, and JP will just get the clothes that scream rich proctologist on holiday. A fashion montage begins with a series of clothes, but none of them are coming out right, and JP is just making it comedically worse. After shopping, JC thanks JP for helping her out, but she doesn't know she's in for a wild, tricky ride. She sees a nice dress at a boutique, but she's not big on spending money, and it's not really her goal to be rich. At the airport, JP wears the Hawaiian shirt that JC dislikes. JC is studying about the wines because she apparently has no idea about it. So the four of them, JP, JC, Herji, and Carla, fly to the winery. They drive to the winery, and JP teaches JC terms and tricks to pretend like she knows about wines, lending her words to impress and some descriptions JC can use. JC, though, can't tell if JP is serious. They get to the farmhouse and spot Marcus and Chandri there. Shandair is memorizing what Marcus is coaching her and what to say about the smell, and Chandri is obviously clueless. Mr. Byes just puts up a poker face and comments that all the litany Shandair has said. The comment about the wine tasting good is the only believable one. It's JC's turn to do wine tasting, and she says exactly the words that Herji and JP suggested. So JC says the wine tastes like condensed milk. Seemingly, JC ruins the presentation. JP butts in and supports JC, telling Andres that JC isn't wrong about her description because she just associates it. Back in the city, the photo shoot lands on Denise's table, which might ruin things. Later, the seven of them ride to see more of the winery. The two couples vie to impress the buyer by showing affections to their partners. Mr. Byes shows more of the legacy of his wine farm to the three couples. As they go around, Chandri insufferably shows more of her interesting features, which do not really highlight a high IQ. They get to see the grave of roses, and Mr. Byes explains that it's for his deceased wife. Chandri tries to smooth things over with Mr. Andres Byes. Mr. Byes agrees with JC's philosophy that without romance, marriage is empty, so Mr. Byes tests their romance. He gives them an advanced gift since JC and JP are getting married, but Marcus won't receive anything yet. Mr. Byes wants to test their love for each other by going through a rough footpath where they have to descend. However, JC can't walk properly because of her footwear, and the thorns are hurting her feet. She demands that JP carries her. Hesitant, JP agrees, and they go down the hill. JC shares a bit of herself, explaining that she grew up lonely and sees her company as her family. She won't let the jackal, aka JP, ruin her established family. JP defends the jackal, stating that they are not really bad, but JC is adamant in her belief that the jackal's goal is to destroy families. Later, while JC is explaining, JP hears some sounds, and suddenly, a black pig appears and chases off JC, who is very scared. JP follows them until it leads to some kind of marsh, so JC falls off, and JP laughs at her condition. But then the pig makes a run towards JP, and he goes into the muddy water. However, pigs can swim too. JP and JC swim away from the pig and climb into some branches on a big tree. The pig tries to climb up, but JP comforts JC, claiming he's an expert on pigs, so JC should follow his lead. The rest of the couples are in the main house, waiting for JP and JC to come back. Marcus insults them, but then Herji slips and reveals that JP is a model, right before Carla tries to cover up their lies. Meanwhile, the two are still stuck there, with the pig waiting for them to come down. JC almost falls off, but JP catches her, pulling her closer. JC is tense about the situation and asks about JP's family. So he tells his own story. His dad built a large company, and JP inherited lots of money but chose to build something from scratch. He goes on to reveal more about himself, temporarily forgetting that he's supposed to be a model and talking about himself as a businessman. Their blackberries are soaked, so they have no way of calling for rescue. The pig is gone, so they climb down and walk through the vineyard. JP teases JC to reveal what's going on between her and Marcus. He claims he can tell a lot because Marcus looks at JC in a certain way. They talk about Chandri being a moron, and JP continues to criticize her as dumb. JC becomes insulted by the way he describes Chandri and dislikes JP immediately because of his criticism. She continues to walk by herself, pissed off and not wanting to surround herself with an insensitive, narcissistic prick. Back in the house, Herji and Carla sit together with tea, waiting for their best friends. JC comes through the door, followed by JP, and they start arguing. JC discovers that the pig is actually Mr. Byes' pet and tries to avoid the pig while Mr. Byes is nursing it. Herji and JP are left alone as JP recounts the experience with the pig in the lover's lane. The girls get into their gorgeous rooms, and the boys decide how they are going to sleep on the small bed. JC takes a bath in the bathtub. However, JP goes into the bathroom, but JC doesn't see it because she's blindfolded. so JC thinks Carla is there and asks her to get a towel. JP silently gives the towel, but when JC takes the blindfold off, she screams. Hertji and Carla rush to the room and argue about whose bathroom it is. JC is terribly embarrassed. In the morning, JP and Hertji wake up like a perfect gay couple until realizing who they are sleeping with. They are horrified and swear never to speak about it ever again. It's breakfast, and the couples gather. Shandair shows off again about how she can be a bit dumb. Mr. Buys arrives and tells them to eat a lot, and after that, they go pick grapes to show them the winemaking process. They happily compete to pick the most grapes, and Marcus and Chandri win the round. Now, the next challenge is pressing the wine. Marcus pulls his smooth moves on JC for a chat, and JP doesn't look so happy about it. Back in the city, Denise inspects the Alpha Farm photo shoots, and the male model is familiar as JC's fiancé, so she calls Fernando. Back at the winery, they start the process of pressing wines. The two couples have their different ways of pressing it. JP and JC are pressing less wine but are enjoying the process, pressing it with their butts. The next round goes to Marcus as the winner. JP, though, is ultra competitive and warns Marcus that it's not over yet. The couples prepare for the next round in the cellar. JC realizes that winning isn't everything as she seems to enjoy the process with JP. Meanwhile, Chadri, who is allergic to bees, gets bothered by the bees and gets bitten on the lip. She panics and needs an EpiPen. Marcus thinks she's overreacting, but Chadri's lip is starting to swell. Marcus reminds JP that he's a doctor, but JP says he is only an expert from the neck down. Luckily, the bee stings Chadri's butt. So, JP finds a BIC pen. Mr. Buys arrives and announces there is an antihistamine in the house and reminds Marcus that the cellar can wait, and he should go attend to his girlfriend's needs. The remaining two go into the cellar, and Mr. Buys gives them a tour, presenting them with a special wine from 1998, the year Mr. Buys' wife passed away. The logo also features Mr. Buys' wife's silhouette. JP pulls JC, about to reveal his true identity, but lacking courage, he just mentions there are grapes in her hair. Back in the city, Fernando confirms that JP isn't one of Fernando's models. They return to the house, and Carla reminds JC not to have feelings for JP because she hired him. Hertji also admits he is liking Carla, but now he is supposed to be gay. He notices that JP is smiling nonstop and seems to be in love with JC. JC also has problems because she likes JP, but it will jeopardize the business. Hertji tells him to make up a strategic plan to reveal the truth, so JP decides to cancel the dinner. Meanwhile, the telegram from Denise has reached JC and Carla, and they know she has seen the photos. They strategically plan their exit and how to explain things to Denise. At the dinner, Marcus spots JC and sweeps her for a chat on the couch. Meanwhile, JP actually comes out and takes JC dancing sweetly while Marcus looks sour. Carla also takes Hertji to dance, and they go dancing as led by Hertji. JP admits that he has fallen in love with her since the rough lover lane's path, and they kiss genuinely this time. But JC is still thinking about her presentation, so she has to rush away but is eternally grateful to JP. Now the bad thing is that JC is going to win the contract. JP plans to buy the company and dates JC. Hertji also says he has to forget about buying the company as it's not that often someone meets someone like JC. Marcus comes to JC's room, and JC, disappointed, also breaks up with Chadri. Marcus is definitely JC's ex and realizes he is in love with her still. After seeing her with JP, Marcus forces a kiss on JC while JP is still there watching them, so he backs out and leaves the gift in the bathroom for JC to see. JC also realizes she is in love with someone else. The next day, which is the day for the presentation, JC wears JP's gift, the one dress that she liked from the boutique. Another trouble is brewing back in the city as Susan recognizes that JP is from the Amalgamated Media. Denise rushes to get to them quickly to salvage the presentation. The presentation day is set up, but JP is nowhere to be found. Later, JC gives her speech, but JP intervenes and tells everyone the truth that JP is hired to be her fiancé, and they finally reveal themselves as the Amalgamated Media, not a model, and not gay. A chopper arrives to collect them, but before that, JP smacks Marcus. It seems JP has misinterpreted what he has seen last night and has changed his mind. JP and Hertji fly away, leaving the other guests to wonder about the lie. Back in the city, things don't go well with JC as she becomes depressed and spends her days bedridden. JP successfully buys the company, and now the company retrenches the employees. JC feels very guilty about it seeing them. Denise, though, reveals that Mojo is not bought, and they are just moving to bigger offices. Mr. Buys wants JC on the plane to Bordeaux because her presentation is impressive. JC still does not like what JP has done. Carla comes by and encourages JC to go to JP, which she does, but JP is still cold. JC explains her side about the situation and emphasizes that she is serious about him, and it's no longer about the contract. JP, though, maintains that it's just a business deal. JC passes a document in a folder that contains the proposal Lover's Lane, which is inspired by that fateful weekend. JP realizes she is not interested in the money and just wants to save her colleagues. He realizes his mistake and chases JC. JC is packing for her Bordeaux trip. They go to the Mojo building, but their fancy car gets clamped. But luckily, Fernando passes by and offers them a motor ride. JC is at an important event for the release of the new product for Alpha Farm. Later, a wine goes for her which is from Mr. Bai's farm. It is JP who has sent them. JC thinks that JP is going to ruin her presentation again, but JP is confessing his real feelings. They end up kissing and affirming their love. Hertji also gathers courage and kisses Carla. Carla is just relieved he's not gay. They soon get married in Mr. Bai's winery.